Got it. Share screen. Here we go. Okay. It's Tuesday, election season. Hello, everybody. Glad to see you all here. So I'm Ashley McClure. I'm a primary care physician in Oakland, and co-founder and co-director of Climate Health Now. And we're excited for everyone joining to talk about one of the many ballot measures on our lengthy ballot, which is Prop 30, the Clean Car, Clean Air ballot measure, which we at Climate Health Now, and I think many others in the health community, see as an urgently needed investment in climate, health, and equity. And as Brenda and Naomi are doing in the chat, it'd be fun if you want to put your name, pronouns, and then where you're joining from. That'd be great to see our spread across the state. So Amanda.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here. I think we're going to have some more people trickling in, but thanks for giving us your time. We're just quickly going to review the mission of Climate Health Now and then jump into Prop 30. So Climate Health Now is a statewide organization that is a group of members of the California health community who advocate for climate action in our state through a health and equity framework. We use community organizing to build the base of climate engaged health, allied health, healthcare administrator, professionals, and workers across California to leverage our trusted health voices in support of the climate justice movement to protect health and achieve health equity. And a lot of these themes are going to come up today when we're talking about Proposition 30. Awesome. All righty, so here is, and actually, Ashley, I don't see Chris, so if you want to work on that, we may have to invert our order here, but a general overview of what we're going to be talking about today. Chris Chavez, who is the Deputy Policy Director at the Coalition for Clean Air, is supposed to be on basically just to give us all an overview of Proposition 30. We have a primer video that we're going to share. And then we'll hear from Will Barrett, who is the National Senior Director for Clean Air Advocacy at the American Lung Association, among other titles as well, more about Proposition 30, why it has the support of the American Lung Association. We're going to talk about how Proposition 30 aligns within the U.S. Call to Action on Climate Health and Equity, which is the policy platform that CHN has adopted and that's been widely adopted by more than 200 organizations across the U.S. We'll have time for a discussion, and we're hoping both Will and Chris can help answer some of the questions I think we have, about Prop 30 and help people to understand it more. And then we're going to do some action items, taking actions together in real time. So let's see, Ashley, any word from Chris?
No, I emailed him. If you wouldn't mind following up, that'd be great.
Okay.
So, quick thank you, because we're all always working together to make all of this happen. So thank you to Amanda, who's taking notes, to Naomi. Appreciate you being here to monitor the chat and bring things into the conversation. Amanda's also helping keep track of time, and I am screen sharing. And also, Linda, I wanted to say thank you. I'm glad you're here because I saw your messages about joining, and Climate Health Now is all about the entire health community. So some of the things we do through CMA are physician specific, but Climate Health Now is the whole health community. So public health, nurses, health administrators. So we're glad you're here. So we're going to jump in. Hopefully the tech gods are with me as I share this 1.5 minute video about just like a primer about Prop 30. So if somebody could give me a thumbs up if you can hear this, that'd be great. Are you hearing that? Oh, geez. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna, Amanda, can I swap over to you?
Sure. Yeah. Although I think I was starting to hear it. Do it one more time.
Okay. No. Okay.
Okay.
I don't know.
Give me a sec here.
So if you can do that video, that'd be great. Thank you, Bill, for the feedback. We'll get it going. It's worth it. So this is a video from Cal Matters. And they have a lot of really helpful explainers if you're looking for other resources. And I'll stop sharing to pass it to you, Amanda. Hi, Chris. Glad you're here.
For having me.
Sunny weather and dirty air. It has some of the worst air quality in the country. California. It's known for its stunning beaches, redwood forests, sunny weather, and dirty air. It has some of the worst air quality in the country. State data shows that more than 90% of Californians breathe unhealthy levels of air pollutants. To reduce air pollution and greenhouse emissions, Governor Gavin Newsom has asked the Air Resources Board to ban the sale of all new gas-powered cars by 2035. So, how will the state meet its goal and who's going to pay for it? Voters will help decide this in November. Hi, I'm Nadia Lopez. I cover the environment for Cal Matters, and this is Prop 30 explained in 1 minute. Prop 30 would impose a 1.75% income tax increase on Californians making more than $2 million per year. The tax would generate up to $4.5 billion annually. Most of the money would go toward rebates for people buying zero-emission cars and to build more charging stations. Half of that funding will go to low and middle-income residents. A quarter of the money would provide funding to hire and train firefighters. The measure is backed by environmentalists and public health groups and is funded largely by the rideshare company Lyft. State regulations require Lyft and Uber drivers by 2030 to log 90% of their miles in electric vehicles. Supporters say the tax would generate much-needed funding to support wildfire prevention and help accelerate the transition to electric cars. They say the state's top earners should foot the bill since they're the ones most able to afford it. But opponents, including the state Republican Party and Governor Newsom, say Californians don't need more tax hikes because everyone is already feeling the effects of high inflation and surging gas prices. They argue that the tax would drive many residents out of the state to benefit a special interest, rideshare companies. Vote yes if you think millionaires should be taxed to help fund electric car rebates and more firefighters. Vote no if you don't. To learn about this proposition and others, visit calmatters.org. To stay up to date on California politics and policy, subscribe to our newsletter below. For Cal Matters, I'm Nadia Lopez.
Woohoo. Thank you, Amanda. You saved me like 100 times a day. So that was just a brief overview, and we'll obviously go into greater detail, but it I think is a helpful framework. So, let me pause this. Go to the next. So these are just a couple, I think, of powerful visuals to continue that. A lot of what Prop 30 is talking about is air pollution and fires, which is obviously a huge deal and connected to climate change, but just to call out that this is
actually there's a lot of background noise behind. Is that behind you or someone else? Oh,
and then secondly,
maybe it's me.
we will do
Never mind.
okay. Is that better?
Yep.
Okay. So that Prop 30 is a climate solution. We talk so much about climate solutions. We need those, and this is that. The air pollution getting worse is related to climate. The wildfires getting worse is related to climate. So this is, about air pollution, it's about fires, and it's about climate. And I think many of you probably remember this day, September of 20, when California was, the Bay Area was orange from smoke. So that this is what it's, about. And it's also, we'll talk about the details, but a lot of this $1 billion of funding will go to fighting these fires. So it's about fires, smoke, and climate and air pollution. So I'm really excited to introduce one of our ally, a leader in the climate movement, Christopher Chavez, who's the deputy policy director for the Coalition for Clean Air, who's here to kind of expand on the primer that I just shared and help us all just feel really confident about what the ballot measure will actually do. So I'll pass it to you, Chris. Glad you're here.
Great, and thank you for letting me join. And my apologies for any background noise or breaks in Wi-Fi. I'm actually at UCLA at the moment for a meeting that I just had to leave a little bit early for this. So in any case, it's a pleasure to be here. So yes, my name is Chris Chavez. I'm the Deputy Policy Director at Coalition for Clean Air. Our organization is now 52, going on 52 years old, and our mission is to protect public health, improve air quality, and prevent climate change. So we know that climate change is actively happening. There's really no way to get clean air to California without cleaning up the transportation sector. Transportation is 80% of our smog forming pollutants, as well as 50% of our greenhouse gas emissions once you account for upstream sources such as fuel production. It's also responsible for about 95% of the diesel particulate matter in our air. Diesel particulate matter is the #1 air toxic, #1 air carcinogen in California's air. And those impacts are not shared equally. So I live in Western Long Beach, which is right next to the ports and the 710 freeway. And, I had asthma as a kid, and it's a very common experience for children in Long Beach and all along the 710 corridor to have asthma. And, it's just one of those things that's kind of taken for granted. But when you put two and two together, that we have the dirtiest air in the nation, that our air fails to meet national and state air quality standards, it goes to show how people are being impacted by air pollution on a day-to-day basis. So California has a number of transportation related programs to reduce the pollution from vehicles. You have programs to help incentivize light duty vehicles, such as vehicle rebates. You have programs that are designed for low income and disadvantaged communities. You also have programs to replace medium and heavy duty trucks on the road. And all of that's with the goal to make it more accessible to use these vehicles. You also have transit programs, things like that. The problem is that they don't have a very stable funding source. Typically, they have always been funded through a fund called the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund. And that fund varies frequently. It's basically, it derives its revenue from economic conditions. So there have been many situations, even in good financial years, with a healthy economy, where the funding for those programs is insufficient. And so you see a lot of these programs oversubscribed and underfunded. And as a result, these programs have wait lists, they drop or stop accepting applications at certain times. The medium and heavy duty truck programs have been known to run out of money within mere minutes. So there are a lot of needs, but the funding sources that we have don't address all of them. So the environmental advocates who worked on this, including Coalition for Clean Air, I know Move LA, American Lung, have all have come up with ways to create more stable funding streams. This is kind of what the crux of Prop 30 is. In that it creates a new funding stream through a small tax increase on high income earners, those making over $2 million a year, and puts that into 3 categories. Funding for electric vehicles, including transit and medium and heavy duty infrastructure. Also like biking and walking is included in some of that funding as well. You have charging infrastructure being included. You also have wildfire prevention and resilient forestry programs added in there, because wildfires are quickly becoming one of the biggest sources, the second largest source, actually could be the largest source of air pollution in the state. So those are 3 specific areas that are called out for funding. The funds would be administered by state agencies already implementing these programs. So you have the California Air Resources Board, which implements the vehicle rebates. You have the California Energy Commission, which is overseeing charging. You have CAL FIRE, which obviously oversees fire. So this isn't creating anything new. It just provides additional funding, additional support for California's critical climate and wildfire programs. When it comes up that, this is a carve out for a corporation, if you read through the language, that isn't in there. And in fact, half of the money derived for electric vehicles and charging infrastructure will actually need to be invested in low income and disadvantaged communities. So that is really why for Coalition for Clean Air's part, that we are very passionately supportive of Proposition 30. We've been part of the process the entire time. And ultimately, California needs Proposition 30 if we're ever going to actually get to clean air. I think that's really what it comes down to in a nutshell, because if business as usual, where our programs can be underfunded, oversubscribed, it just isn't going to cut it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chris. Your clarity and expertise on this is really helpful, because I think it can be kind of overwhelming, and you paint the picture very clear. So thank you for joining.
Yeah, and I'll stick around in case there are any questions or anything I can help out with.
Yeah, that'd be super helpful. Yeah, we want to after Will, we'd love to dive into like, why is Governor Newsom standing with Republicans on this, and why is there a division? So now Amanda's gonna introduce Will.
Excellent. Alrighty. Yes, Chris, thank you so much. That was super helpful. And we'll send out all of these links afterwards as well, but I'm going to update the chat in real time as well. So the link to the explainer video, which is on YouTube, is in the chat also. Alrighty, so now I have the pleasure of introducing Will Barrett, who has a very, very long bio. And Will, I'm sorry, but I'm going to read just the first few sentences. So Will leads the American Lung Association's work on clean air and climate change policy in California, focusing on vehicle emission standards, smart growth, and clean fuels policies. He represents ALA before the California legislature and federal, state, regional, and local agencies engaged in clean air and climate policy. He's also served as a public health representative on panels convened by CARB, which is the California Air Resources Board, the California Energy Commission, and other agencies, and he has lots of other roles as well. But Will, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much, and thanks everyone for taking the time or inviting me to give you a couple thoughts on Proposition 30 and why the Lung Association's so strongly supportive of it and trying to do a lot of our work to organize and get this thing passed. Really great to be able to follow Chris, who's, like you said, just great explanation of the ballot measure and why it is so critical that we move forward and get this thing passed. So what you see on the screen are kind of some general, more or less talking points or statistics about why this is so important, why Proposition 30 is really at the heart of so much of what we do at the American Lung Association. Proposition 30 responds to the challenges that we report on every year in our State of the Air report. 98% of all Californians live in a county that receives a failing grade from the American Lung Association on either ozone or smog days, or particle pollution days, or annual unhealthy levels of particle pollution. This is basically the two most widespread air pollutants that we're dealing with that are threatening health in California, throughout the country. And what we see in our report every year, and why Proposition 30 is so important, is California has the worst air pollution in the country. It deals with the fact that this air pollution causes major health emergencies in communities and families all across the state. We know that children, seniors, people of color, lower income communities, people living with asthma and other lung and heart diseases are at much greater risk. And for lower income communities and communities of color, often dealing with higher pollution burdens due to unhealthy air, due to those local sources of harmful pollution. And like Chris mentioned, major sources including from the transportation sector, from diesel trucks and other diesel engines that are moving freight throughout the state, as well as passenger vehicles, school buses, transit buses. And then you layer on top of all of that wildfires, and it really adds to the many, many health burdens that are being caused by unhealthy air in California. And again, why Proposition 30 is so important to get passed. We see this as a key way of accelerating all of the key policies that California has put in place over the last 50 years plus now of the Clean Air Act, that really are helping to improve air quality. But with climate change, what we're seeing is, and what was mentioned at the outset, is that the job of cleaning our air is getting much more difficult. We're dealing with obvious impacts, particle pollution impacts from wildfires. We're dealing with major increases in ozone pollution in different parts of the state as a result of population growth, increased heat, driving the formation of ozone pollution. Again, smog, that's an odorless, colorless gas that can ultimately have the same impacts that we think about on our skin from a sunburn, on lung tissue. And then particle pollution causes this wide range of negative health consequences, from asthma attack to heart attacks and strokes, lung cancer, and current estimates are about 7,500 premature deaths every year in California. And so when we take all of that as a whole, we know that we have these major challenges in California due to air pollution. We know that the transportation sector is the dominant source of smog forming and particle forming oxides of nitrogen. That's about 85 roughly % of the NOx emissions are coming from the transportation sector. And like Chris said, we can't get a handle on cleaning up our air without getting a handle on the transportation sector. So we have a lot of policies that are doing a great job. We have investments that are really trying to help accelerate that. But Proposition 30 really is a long-term, long-haul kind of investment in cleaning our air, so that we have stable, consistent funding, so we avoid these ups and downs and fits and starts in funding programs, and really put it in the long term that we're going to invest in cleaning up the transportation sector, and cleaning up the transportation sector in communities that need it most, who are most impacted today by harmful air pollution. The other side of the ballot measure being wildfires. Obviously, we've all seen in the picture you showed of the Bay Area with that orange sky. We've all seen this type of impact over the years, growing, more extreme, catastrophic wildfires every year. When we put out our last State of the Air report, which covered the years 2018, 19, and 2020, that report included 7 of the 10 largest fires in state history. So in just that 3-year window that ended in 2020, 7 of the largest fires in the state for all time, right, in recorded history. So then when we look at 2021, we know that there's even, more of those top tier fires happened in 2021. So what we're seeing is this increasing, parade of negative particle pollution consequences due to wildfires, seemingly growing every year, but certainly growing in more frequency, more extreme fire events. And that's just blanketing our state and our surrounding, country really with harmful levels of particle pollution. The ballot measure will put about $1 billion every year into firefighting equipment and training and housing, as well as firefighting, efforts to prevent the extreme wildfire impacts that we're seeing. So it's preventative efforts, it's response efforts, but again, it's putting this dedicated long-term funding in play to address the growth in extreme wildfire behavior. My last note is really just to kind of highlight the fact that, yes, the Lung Association jumped in on this ballot measure early because we see it for what it is, a major opportunity to clean the air. But there are dozens of health organizations from various health specialties joining in the fight to pass Proposition 30, along with our partners in the clean air space like Coalition for Clean Air, along with labor, along with firefighters, along with elected officials. Really, there's a tremendous and broad depth of support for this measure passing. And again, really appreciate you all taking the time to hear more about it today.
Awesome. Thank you, Will. Will is such an expert and a leader in California and nationally. So I'm going to pass it to Amanda to talk about why Climate Health Now in particular is supporting so actively.
Yeah, so thank you, Ashley. So, and thanks, Will and Chris. And I know there's a bunch of really good questions in the chat, so I will go quickly through this and we'll get to those. But we wanted to just highlight again and call out some specific tenets of the U.S. call to action on climate health and equity that align with what Will and Chris have been talking about with Proposition 30. And I'll share a link to the policy action agenda in a second if you haven't looked at it already, but it's basically 10 tenets that are basically intended for how we as health people can take climate action to protect health and health actions to protect climate. So Ashley, if you go forward one slide. Perfect. So there are 4 tenets of the call to action that specifically are aligned with what is in Proposition 30. So the first, which is tenet number 2, is calling for a rapid transition away from the use of coal, oil, and natural gas to clean, safe, and renewable energy and energy efficiency, which Proposition 30 does via the emphasis on electric vehicles and charging. Tenet 3 is to emphasize active transportation. And Prop 30 applies to e-bikes. I think especially as health people, we know and see the health impacts of being in cars. So while we know electric vehicles are better than internal combustion engine vehicles, not being in a vehicle at all is better. So there's language around that. Number 6 calls for an investment in policies that support a just transition for workers and communities that are adversely impacted by climate change. Will and Chris both spoke to this, but Proposition 30 specifically earmarks that half of the funding for electric vehicles go to low-income communities, which historically have been underserved by programs looking to fund electric vehicles and related infrastructure, and which, as we know and see every day, are the hardest hit by both the health impacts of the fossil fuel industry itself, and also the health impacts of climate change. And then last but certainly not least is to engage the health sector voice in the call for climate action, which is where we all come in. So, why are we as members of the health community saying we need Prop 30? Well, it's because it protects health. All righty.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Let's get
Great. So we had some really good questions in the chat. We could possibly start with those. We've earmarked about 10 minutes, maybe 8 to 10 minutes for discussion, and then we're going to roll up our sleeves and take some action together so that nobody leaves with homework. We're going to take action, in this meeting, and then we can all leave feeling like we've helped get the word out. So maybe we can start with, let's see, Bill's question in the chat about why are we provoking this tiny 0.2% of Californians to tax them when they have so much power? Why not tax a smaller amount on a larger segment of the population? Going straight to it. Maybe we could go to Chris first and then Will.
Sure. I think that is a good question. I think generally speaking, when you're considering voters, they are more inclined to tax people who are more affluent. I would also note that the amount of the tax amount that would increase, it's like a 1.75% increase, which is not very large when you consider the overall scope of things. The other facet of it too is also like when you look at it from a policy angle, where is that impact going to be felt at the most? And if you tax it on if you have a broader tax which affects low income earners, for example, or you have a broader tax that affects middle income earners, they will feel the bite more than somebody who is making over $2 million a year. So I think that really is kind of the thought process that went into the drafting of it. Will may have additional information or may be able to clarify some of those points as well, since I believe that he's been there since the beginning.
No, Chris, I think that's right. I think the basic idea is that yes, it's a modest increase, 1.75%, like Chris said, of personal income over 2 million. So you're making 2 million a year. It doesn't apply to you. If you make 2 million in one, it applies to that $1 over 2 million, and so on. So it's an absorbable amount over that 2 million threshold that is really going to go and do quite a bit of good for the state of California. So not too much to add, just to restate Chris's comment.
Thank you for that. I think maybe we could segue to Bonnie's question about why is Newsom against Prop 30? A very good question. Maybe Will and then Chris?
Sure. Well, I would say one of the key things we keep hearing about this ballot measure is the politics makes strange bedfellows. And I think that there are strange bedfellows on the opposition side. The Newsom opposition has really been heavily focused on this theory that this is a carve out or giveaway to lift. And Chris commented on this in his comments at the beginning, that there's nothing in the ballot measure that sets aside funding for any company, much less Lyft. They are certainly supporting the ballot measure. And the kind of origins of that is that, there was this group of advocates in the transit space and the environmental space and clean air space that had been working on the ballot measure, hosted public meetings about it, doing a lot of the groundwork to build support for it. And one of the folks in that small group went to Lyft and convinced them to start, funding the effort. A lot of the time, every year there seems to be some sort of process where advocates for clean air, for climate, want to put something together on the ballot, and we know how much it costs to put something on the ballot in California. So without the funding, a lot of great ideas kind of wither on the vine. And here we had the opportunity to rely on the generosity of the company to put a lot of money into this ballot measure and really put it to the voters, should we be doing more on clean air. Now, the governor's also suggested that the $10 billion in the budget for zero emission transportation, which Chris's organization and mine have both strongly supported those kind of budget investments. But again, that's a $10 billion over 6 years that is in question in terms of how stable the long-term funding is. And we need to see, again, this long-term signal for investment in zero emission transportation, in infrastructure, in the wildfire space as well. So I think that in short, the opposition is really focused on this one boogeyman that they've created out of Lyft's funding of the ballot measure, that when you look at it, there's no carve out, there's no giveaway. Lyft has nothing to do with preventing wildfires, transit, school buses, heavy duty diesel trucks. Like, none of that has to do with Lyft. It's just that there were connections that were made between the environmental coordinators of the ballot measure and Lyft, and they were able to come to an agreement to get the funding moving. So Chris, feel free to jump in if I've lost you.
No, I think you covered it quite well, Will, and certainly I would agree and say, if there is skepticism about that funding there, I totally understand. All I can invite you to do is to read the language of the ballot proposition, which is on the Attorney General's website, and it's very clear that there is no carve out directly to Lyft. And as Will pointed out, when you're talking about medium and heavy duty trucks, that doesn't affect Lyft. When you're talking about transit buses, when you're talking about wildfires, those things don't affect Lyft, but they will affect California's air quality.
And then just one other thing that I forgot to point out, but I like to point out, is that Governor Newsom's own programs right now, if you take Prop 30 out of the equation altogether, a Californian who qualifies for a rebate for zero emission vehicle program, if there's no wait list, if there's adequate funding for the program, they could go get a grant or a rebate from the state of California through the governor's own programs and go drive for Lyft. So that is a current practice. It exists now. You can do that. I've been in probably 3 of the last 5 ride-hailing vehicles that I've been in have been zero emission. Just, it's out there. There's funding that has been made available for this exact purpose through the governor's own projects. And this would just accelerate and make sure that these kind of programs are there for the long term. And again, not just passenger vehicles, not just ride-hailing, but the entire transportation sector, including off-road vehicles, as well as e-bikes and other things. So I think it's important to note all that.
So I'm trying to be a good facilitator here. So I think Jerry and Bonnie, I think, had the same question, which is, why is Lyft investing so much money? Right? So we'll go to that, and then I think to Naomi after that.
I think, Will, you talked about it a little bit. I would defer to you on that, since you're probably more engaged with the conversations earlier on.
Sorry, getting my unmute going while the dogs stop barking. I mean, Lyft has, put significant funding into this because I think they see it as an opportunity to really accelerate the whole transition to zero emissions. They are in the business of, getting riders out there, and, they've committed to zero emission. The state actually has, set standards for the industry to move to zero emission over the coming decade. And, I'll just point out, like, Bill McGavern from Coalition for Clean Air and I, when that bill was in the legislature, we were some of the lead, witnesses speaking in support of it. We see it as important for, all of the transportation sector to move to zero emission. And Lyft was essentially, again, invited by one of the, the original kind of conveners of the ballot measure program in the environmental community to become a major sponsor of it. It resonated with them. They, certainly see, where the industry has to go. But again, they're putting in funding to support the ballot measure that is wide reaching, and again, ventures into preventing wildfires and other things like that. So it's, I think actually there was a blog post or something to that effect from Lyft recently about, their intentions with the measure.
And then the second to last question was Mickey's of why are the California teachers against this? Maybe Chris and then Will. And then we'll finish with Naomi in the interest of getting some stuff done together.
Sure. And I know that there was also a question about the LA Times editorial, so I can add that in there as well. So as far as CTA is concerned, our sense is that generally they have a strong, have had a tendency to oppose any revenue that does not go to education, and understandable. So I used to work at the state capitol. I previously worked on education issues when I was at the state capitol. Now I'm back in the LA area, but ultimately that seems to be really the primary motivation there. There is and if we were allocating funds from Prop 98, which is the education funding source, I would totally understand that concern. But ultimately, from what it appears, it's just that there isn't any additional money going to K through 12 education, K through 14 education, when you include community colleges, into Proposition 30. Regarding the LA Times, so we had a number of early conversations with Tony Barboza at the LA Times on that issue. And those early conversations were very promising. Our thinking is that we were going to get a favorable editorial, but it ultimately got overruled by the rest of the editorial board. Is kind of the theory, the approach that we're assuming happened, given the nature of the conversation that we had with the LA Times before they opposed it.
Thank you. Will, do you want to add to that? No? Okay.
Actually, I would point out, I would actually say that recently Sammy Roth did a piece on explaining Proposition 30 that was very well balanced, and actually I think really provided a lot of additional information. So I would say, rather than the editorial, which just parroted a lot of the opposition talking points, the Sammy Roth piece, I don't have it on me off the top of my on me, but certainly that was a very, I think, very good piece in explaining the measure and the politics around the measure.
Awesome. He has a good newsletter to get also.
Right.
Naomi, you're going to be our final question, and then we'll move to action.
Maybe I'll just actually skip a little bit. I mostly was just trying to give a little bit more context to the Lyft thing, which is that I think it does benefit Lyft, but it doesn't mean it's bad if it benefits Lyft, if that makes sense. And I do think that there's a lot of social equity that's built into the bill, that it's really, the goal is to actually help disadvantaged communities, and the way they structured it was to do that. So where my understanding is like 50% of the monies are actually supposed to go to disadvantaged communities. So so there is a lot of support there. And I think to the extent that Lyft drivers are often actually people who are not making huge salaries, it will actually help them as well. So That to me helps to, the corporate thing is not lovely, but it's also like, it's okay if the world is actually aligning some of those things that are an advantage for a corporation to actually help other things actually go well too.
Yeah.
And
And
on
then-
that,
Go ahead. Will.
yeah, on that point, I mean, I think Chris certainly knows this as well. There's millions and millions of dollars in state funding and investments that have gone into supporting heavy duty trucking companies moving to zero emission, delivery vans, UPS, FedEx, those types of vehicles are eligible and take advantage of the funding that has become available. It runs out very quickly, sometimes in minutes when it's put forward. But, these are things that are public good. It's putting cleaner technologies out there to clean our air. And just Naomi answered, I think, the question for Dr. Abraham about, the people who have, low income folks are really targeted for, the bulk of the benefit or half of the zero emission vehicle benefit in this ballot measure. So equity was written in specifically to address your question, Dr. Abraham, because it's so important that we don't leave anyone behind.
Yeah. All right. So you all ready to take some action together? Again, a thank you to Chris and Will for helping us all feel more confident, because there's a lot of spin happening. So I'm going to drop this is a spreadsheet in the chat. And the whole rest of the meeting is really going to be about reaching out to our friends and community. I see one person popping in already, to help share kind of the understanding that we now have, which is more than a lot of people, and to help them kind of feel confident in voting yes on Prop 30. So I don't know about y'all, but my sense is that an email from somebody you're connected to through an organization is more impactful for impacting somebody's vote than social media alone. They're all important, but what I would love right now is if everybody could, this is a collaborative document. I'll actually share this with you. So this is collaborative. Everybody's an editor. We're editing our participation together. So I see like Bill just wrote his name here. And the idea is to write your name and then maybe 2 or 3 groups that you're a part of. This might be, your own workplace or a Facebook group that you're a part of, or, Public Health Awakened, like different listservs. And so if you could, there we go. So exactly, Dr. Pevick is showing. So he just put down UC Davis Health Sustainability Advocates. So the idea is that, we each write a couple of groups that we're a part of to just get the juices flowing. And then we will use a template that we have drafted for you to try to make this really easy to reach out to those groups to share why you as a nurse or a medical student or a doctor or a public health person, why you support Prop 30, and to give them a few resources to just learn about it so that it stands out from, the dozens of other propositions. Any questions? Does this all seem like a good idea? You doing okay? Jerry, do you have any on here? I can scribe for some folks if you're on a phone. Oh, Naomi, your hand's up.
Sorry, just a quick question. The content of what we would be writing kind of drives whether, like, I'm at UCSF. I think I'm not really allowed to use my email.
Oh yeah.
To do political advocacy.
Yeah.
But it would have to be sort of like, if you're interested in learning more about proposition and why it might be good for children's health, then I could write something like that. So I just am not sure. Like, I can't quite sign up for a listserv without being like,
actually, I'm gonna share it now.
Awesome.
Yeah. That's real. So take good care of your own internal politics because we're all navigating lots. So I think this would be ideal for personal or like groups you have a closer connection to or that are not your workplace. Definitely. I work at Kaiser, so I know a lot about that. So yeah, more personal or, not corporation, I would say. Anybody else? Mark has an
Jerry.
newsletter. Do you want to put this in a newsletter, Mark?
Ash?
Sorry, it's hard to hear you, Ashley, I think.
Yeah, actually, you just cut out for a sec. Say that again.
I know Mark, Dr. Fudernick has a really great newsletter. And I was thinking maybe you would want to send a blast about Prop 30. Did you hear me?
Who would that be towards?
Sorry?
Dr. Peternick?
Yeah,
Jerry,
she was talking to Mark, I think.
yeah.
Oh, okay,
Oh,
great.
Mark said,
I was just gonna say, I'm having a ballot proposition party on Sunday, so I'll send it to that crew.
Cool. Okay.
Not like for people to figure out how to vote, Jerry?
Yes, we're doing
Oh.
prop by Princeton. Yep.
Cool.
Just kind of
Cool.
a fireside gathering of young folks.
Nice.
Awesome. So, any other ideas or anyone need any ideas? Okay. So that's kind of, getting those wheels turning. And then, Amanda, would you mind putting the chat for the template?
Yes.
Okay.
It is. I'm gonna put it so it's the most recent thing in the chat too.
So the idea would be to maybe duplicate this document and adapt it for whatever feels right coming from you. So the example is I'm going to use this to send to the CMA Climate Champions Google group that I am a part of. And I'm going to, adapt it. The yellow parts are what we would adapt, but it's, pretty straightforward, not too long. And it just explains like what it will do. So the invitation is that everybody uses this and shares it with your community, whether it's, your neighborhood community or a health community, or whatever feels right. So I see in the chat, what or where is this, is a link to this? Do you mean the email template, Mickey? Here, I can. So this is for the email outreach. That one. Does
And
that,
Mickey, if you're having problems specifically accessing it, let us know. I think somebody said their company wouldn't allow them to access it on what computer they're on. So it may, oh, good. Okay. It may be a question of, we will send it out later. It may be a question of like being on your personal computer in order to get it, I suppose.
yeah. And then I saw Judy's message that you can't access the spreadsheet, but you're the president of the Southern California and Arizona Medical Library Group. Yeah, that would be awesome. I can type that in. Was anybody else not able to access the template?
Mickey, I think just getting the links from the chat. I know you can't get them off of Power. Oh, and Bonnie, I see your hand just went up.
No, I just have a quick question. Would it be useful to put in the letter, I just kind of scanned the letter really quick, so I may have missed it, but like to put that the American Lung Association supports it.
Oh, yeah.
That the Clean Air Coalition, I believe Chris Chavez, I'm not sure what your Coalition for Clean Air, if that could kind of be in is it there already?
Yeah,
it is, Bonnie. It's
okay.
Relatively low down in the letter.
Okay.
So I think certainly rearranging this like as you see fit is
absolutely
totally
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but I think
okay, got you. I see it highlighted on the letter. Okay, so I'll just copy and paste it into another document, because I don't want to really use that heading yes on 30. I just don't want to, I want to make it so personal, like it's not like a form letter. I just want to make it like, hey folks, look, this is important and so forth. Okay, great. Thank you.
That sounds really good. Yeah, definitely. This is just a lifting off place, but we wanted to make it easy for everybody to outreach because we know how busy we all are. And then the last thing that we were going to just finish with is this is a toolkit put out by the whole Prop 30 coalition. And there's a lot of like social media posts that you can just like, just to kind of put them in your own media streams, which will help to amplify. So maybe if Amanda, you could, there it is. So that this has a lot of different tools, and if you're kind of if you like to write, you could also submit. They have a few they have a little bit of guidance on like writing letters to the editor. You could just go through and like click to tweet what somebody else has written. So this is another another tool that you could help get the word out about. And then you can just tweet it, and then there it is. And it's going out to a different stream than it has otherwise. So that's something else that could be useful to amplify.
And
Mhm.
oh, I was just going to say, from a quick show of hands, because I'm just trying to gauge whether this would be worthwhile or not. If we built out a template, so the letter to the editor guidance that's in the partner toolkit is specifically referencing how to respond via letter to the editor to things that newspapers have already published, which they have really good guidance on. But you can also submit a letter to the editor that's not in response to something, but is just saying, here's, as a health person, I support Prop 30 for this reason. My question, just quick show of hands, if we built a quick LTE template that was specific to health voices, would that be useful if we got that out to you all in the next 24 hours? Like, would people submit that to a local paper? And I will not be offended if no one says they would. I just want to know if it's worth time. So raise your Zoom hand if that would be of interest, please.
I mean, it would be of interest. And the other thing is an op-ed, but that's a little bit more extensive. But I think that either one, but gosh, with time constraints, I'm not sure it's something I would actually get to. Right. But, certainly to have tools to do it would be helpful if I did have time.
Okay, so I see a bunch of yeses though to the LTE. Okay, I'm gonna see if that's something we can do. Here, speaking of op-eds, I just wanted to call out specifically an op-ed that was published this morning by Vanessa Forsyth, who is a member of CHN and a retired school nurse in San Diego, on Prop 30. And she makes the health argument really, really well. So take a look at that and uplift it if you can.
And you can amplify that out.
Yep. Okay. Judy, did you have a question? I don't know if that's a hand for a question or not.
No, I just was saying I can send it to local papers.
Okay, so
Awesome.
it sounds like there's a few people who would use it. Okay.
Yeah, I also have a connection with the climate action group in Orange County. So
it could be.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Just a quick question.
Great.
Do we
Thank
know if
you
there are
all.
any Black or Latino groups supporting?
Yeah. The question is, are there any, did you say, Jerry, Black and Latino groups supporting Prop 30?
Yeah, because I mean, here in LA, there are a lot of Black and Latino papers. And so I'm just curious, seeing that NAACP and a couple of Latino groups were opposed, I definitely wouldn't want to push it into Black media or Latin media unless I know for sure we've got Black leaders behind this as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that La Opinion has endorsed Proposition 30. Let me verify that though, but we met with them. It was a very good interview. I'm pretty sure that they're supporting it. Sheila is also another one, so for immigrant rights. But yeah, there should be.
So I'm happy to send the letter then to some local LA papers then, Black and Latino papers.
So we'll try to get a template out. And somebody, Mickey, you put in the chat, what are the polls showing? I have to grab the link again. Earlier, I shared a link to the polling that actually shows that it's got pretty widespread support. I don't know how updated the polling is, especially since Newsom has been so vocally opposed. I don't know, Chris, if you know of any any changes to the polling, or if they're going to update it.
So the most recent poll had it at 49% yes and 37% no. It's close. We think it's going to be a razor close election. Before Newsom's opposition, we were close to the 60s. So it did, Newsom's opposition certainly did its damage, but we are still ahead. We would like to be above that 50% mark, but we'll take being ahead than being behind any day. So that's the most recent information that we've had. And I talked to Bill McGavern, my boss in Sacramento, again, and he did not indicate that there's been any change in the polling, so that we're still should be ahead.
Cool.
That's great. Yes. And so every outreach with these tools is going to make a difference, y'all. And then back to your question, Jerry, this is the list of endorsers, and I see like the Central California Asthma Collaborative is very much like, looking out for like migrant workers. There's some of CEJA's members, but not all of them is on here.
CEJA is the California Environmental Justice Alliance.
Yeah. So there is a widespread and labor also. Filipino American LA Democrats, things like this. So, all right. So I think we'll just finish up. We just have a couple more minutes. And if you need support, we are here to do that. So here's where you can find me. And we have your emails through registration. So Amanda, if you have the time and bandwidth, a deep bow of gratitude for the health specific letter to the editor to get out there. And then just to finish up with kind of Climate Health Now, back to Climate Health Now. And again, a huge thank you to Will and Chris. We really appreciate you joining, and you're, pulling in the same direction. Let's show Newsom that people are looking out for other people, not just the 0.2%. So in case you want to invite some other health colleagues, the Climate Health Now, like I said earlier, we are trying to be and build the home for the whole health community in California. So that's from upstream public health to medical assistants, nurses, health students, health administrators, the whole community. We want them to join, link arms with us, and we're using community organizing to make people matter more than profits for a few. So tell your friends. And if you save the dates, Amanda's going to give us to finish.
All righty. So a few things here. I think some of you probably saw the awesome event that California Medical Association put on, the first ever climate event on Friday, and they are following it up with a grand rounds featuring Dr. John Balms talking about air pollution. And we will actually, if you can pop the link into the chat, that would be helpful. That is coming up on Tuesday, November 8th. The next community meeting for Climate Health Now will be Wednesday, November 16th at 12:30. We'll share the link to that. And then last but certainly not least, we wanted to share a video that a group called Voting for Climate and Health has put together that talks about why we need to vote generally to protect health, not specifically about Prop 30, but it's an awesome video. It's had like 26,000 views on YouTube so far when I last looked. So hopefully you all will watch it and share it. Awesome. And we will send out a summary and the recording, and I will work to get an LTE template to you all as well. Awesome. Thanks for joining, everyone. Have a good afternoon.
Thanks, everyone. Nice work. Talk to you guys soon.
Bye.
Thank you. You all are great. You're rock stars for sure. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.